Some people are scared to fight in prison. I don't know why. Because when they don't fight, life is a lot harder for them. Time is a lot harder for them. They struggle. They spend their entire time in prison getting taken advantage of. They get things stolen from them. Sometimes they get their manhood taken. That's right. If you don't stand up and fight for yourself, nobody's really going to respect you. So you have to step out on a limb, so to speak, and you got to fight. You got to stand up and fight for yourself. You can't be afraid in prison. You got to throw them up, even if you don't know how to fight, and fight. Most of the time, I've come to realize, even in the most extreme circumstances, fights don't last long. They usually last 2 or 3 minutes at the most, and they usually stop because both people, or usually one person, is extremely exhausted and the fight ends real quick. You don't have to be skilled in fighting to get in a fight and get respect. You just got to stand up for yourself. And if you don't stand up for yourself, you can't expect nobody else to stand up for you. So quit being scared. Now, for real, you got to fight. I've seen dudes go to jail and they doing all this stuff on the street, but when they get to jail, they scared to fight. And sometimes they do have legitimate reasons, because sometimes people are like, man, I'm up for parole, man. I can't afford to, I can't afford to get in a fight, man, and lose my parole. Man, look, you better fight. Do what you got to do. Go find a cut somewhere, get in a fight. You don't even know if you're going to make parole. Or sometimes maybe they're going to do. Hey, look, I've seen crazier things. Sometimes somebody will go to parole, when they come back and get denied, then they boom, boom, boom. They start knocking. They start knocking people out and start fighting. But the best thing to do is get in the fight. Listen, I got in enough share fights from all my times locked up. I probably was a draw to a loss on most of my fights. I'm not a professional fighter, but I'm not going to lay down and let somebody take advantage of me. I'm going to stand on my principles, and I'm going to stand on my beliefs, and I'm not going to spend my life letting somebody bully me and take advantage of me. And everybody should be that way. They go to jail and they're scared to get in a fight. I never understood no thing like that. I don't want to get in a fight. Of course, a lot of the dudes I got in fights with, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, there's no way I'm going to beat this dude. But boom, I hit him anyway. Boom, 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 boom. I might have got whooped. I got jumped a handful of times. I got whooped real good. But I always healed from it. I never even had I think I might have had my nose broke one time. Never had a jaw broken. And I've been in fights with people who are capable of breaking jaws. It just usually ends. They usually respect you when you get in a fight, and sometimes weapons are involved. I've had to hit people and use some weapons in fights in prison. You have to stand up for yourself if you're incarcerated. That doesn't mean that you're not trying to live a redemptive life and trying to course correct all the wrongs you've did. But fighting in prison is usually necessary and usually unavoidable. You may have to get in a few fights just to set the stage and let everybody know you're not the one who's going to be bullied, picked on, or taken advantage of while you serve out your time in prison. Get your fights out the way. Usually, if you're getting enough fights, people will respect you. Word will get around on the compound that he's willing to stand up for himself. And usually you can serve out the rest of your time in a legitimate and redemptive way, to where you are bettering your mind, your body, and your soul. So when you get released from prison, you can live a reflection of that change you made while you were still in prison. Now, some people are just chaotic. They're going to fight. They don't want to change. They talking about when they get out, they're going to do all the stuff that they've been doing times 10. That's just the way they are. There's a lot of people in prison like that. But there's also people in prison, and a lot of people in prison, who want to be changed and who want to be redeemed and who want to live a successful and solid lifestyle that requires not being a criminal. But sometimes you just got to get in a fight. Fighting ain't fun. But no, wait, it ain't fun for me. I don't like to fight. But there are people who like fighting. They love to fight. That's what they do. They wake up in the morning and think about fighting. They just chaotic people. I've known my share of them. But the average person is trying to avoid trouble, and they're just trying to get through and do their time. But you got to be willing to stand up for yourself. It's just that simple. So if you don't want to fight in prison and you're committing crime, you want to be a thug and you want to live that so-called gangster life, well, you need to rethink what you're doing. Or if you're just somebody who's doing crime, period, and you ain't living no gangster life, but you committing just some kind of something you know you can go to jail for and you still trying to do it and get away with it, you better be careful because you're going to wind up in prison, in jail. And in jail, you usually got to fight more than in prison because jails in the South, in Louisiana, jail's more chaotic than the prisons. Most of the time, if depending on where you do your time at, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Jefferson Parish, Shreveport, all these places are chaotic, the jail systems. So it just depends, man. You got to think about what you're doing. But if you don't want to fight, don't go to jail. And on the other side of that, even if you do go to jail and you have to get in a fight, it ain't the end of the world. Throw up your hands, get in your fight, and do what you got to do to defend yourself. And hopefully it doesn't turn into something worse. Thanks for watching With or Without Parole. Give me a like and subscribe.